What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, back with some more boxing. Now, I'm back with episode 7 of my series, Matchmakers. In this episode, I want to put together some matches. This is a segment where I play matchmaker, try to put together some interesting, intriguing, realistic matches, and I explain to you why I picked those particular matches. Now, this one is rather unusual, so I know some of you guys are like, what the fuck are you talking about, Ego? Why'd you pick this? Let me explain. I think these are really great matches, and I'll go one by one. In the main event, I have Andre Ward versus George Groves. Now, a lot of people may not agree with this. However, Carl Froch is not willing to rematch Groves, or at least that's what he says in the public. So, that doesn't look like it's going to take place based on Carl Froch. Looks like he wants a big money fight, a big payday, possibly Butte Pascal winner. A rematch with Andre Ward. I personally pick Andre Ward versus George Groves, one, because it's something fresh, and I think we can all agree that the George Groves Carl Froch stoppage was bullshit. That wasn't a rightful stoppage. Groves should have been given some level of attempt to get out of the headlock the ref had him in and fight his way out, especially since he posed so many problems to Carl Froch. He did take an L in the Carl Froch. It was a great fight. However, I think the ref intervened and Carl Froch was the bigger name. Therefore, when things weren't going Groves' way, they were a little hasty to stop the match. But one thing you can say about George Groves is the kid has heart. He was undefeated, and he's going to come to bring it. So I think this would be an intriguing matchup for Andre Ward. Another thing, a lot of people critique and criticize Andre Ward, call him a boring fighter. He's the number 2 pound for pound, and some people, the casual fan or whoever, doesn't necessarily like his style. They say he's boring, not entertaining. Part of matchmaking is picking the best possible stylistic matchups that make sense. I think a fight with George Groves could be interesting. I think it could be exciting, especially for a fighter who, like Andre Ward, is not necessarily the most exciting to some of the fans. So I think George Groves could bring the best out of an Andre Ward. I'm not saying he beats Ward. I just think it's an interesting matchup. Plus, you got to look at the division. Carl Froch already lost to Andre Ward. And by the looks of it, his style doesn't look like he's any closer to beating Andre Ward. Maybe if he fought him immediately after Kessler fight, some people might think it. But after seeing how he looked against George Groves, he doesn't look like he has anything that's going to really change the outcome of the first fight. So with Andre Ward, George Groves, we have a new stylistic matchup. It's a fresh matchup that we haven't seen before. And I think this is very intriguing. Plus, you look at Andre Ward, he's beat a lot of the credible guys. He already beat Bika, and Bika has unfinished business with Durrell, so that's not really a logical opponent. I think they should have a rematch in the draw that they just had. So you can't really count either of those guys for Andre Ward at the moment. Andre Ward could move up, but to me that spoils another match that I'm really looking forward to it. He could move up and fight an Adonis Stevenson, or Stevenson can move down, but I would much rather see Adonis Stevenson versus Sergey Kovalev. I think that's a hell of a matchup, and that could be an all-out war. So I would rather those guys stay at 175 and fight. Then if you look at the division above super middleweight, who else do you have? Bernard Hopkins, who's already been on record saying there's no amount of money that can be given that will make him fight Andre Ward. He has respect for him, and it looks like it's a mutual respect. So realistically, who is Andre Ward going to fight? Chad Dawson already lost bad to Adonis Stevenson, and Ward already beat him, so that's 2 losses in a row. Tavoris Cloud and Don King Promotions look like they're out of the picture. Andre Ward just beat Edwin Rodriguez, who was an undefeated fighter, gave him his first L, a guy that was bigger than him. So to me, a logical matchup based on available candidates and the type of fight I feel it would make. I think the George Groves is a really good fight. Plus, I would have this fight take place in the UK. A lot of people gripe and complain. They say Andre Ward, he's not a road warrior like some other champions. And I think Andre Ward needs to reach out to a different demographic. You got people like Adrian Broner, who kind of acts like a clown. You got Floyd Mayweather, who's been around the sport. And from a fan standpoint, they're bigger than Andre Ward. I'm not saying better or skill for skill, but they I mean, you can look at their Twitters and they probably have more fans. It's a pretty well-known fact. So I think this would be a great, respectable win if Andre Ward could beat George Groves in the UK. Plus, it'll get the fans involved from the UK, give them a chance to stand by a UK fighter and see Andre Ward. And I think a lot of people would respect him. And I think it's a far more intriguing fight than a Carl Froch rematch. I don't, again, see anything that Carl Froch is going to do that beats Andre Ward. He already lost to him. And stylistically, I haven't seen anything where he's so improved to the point where I see him beating Andre Ward. So this is another UK fight with a different style UK fighter. If you look at the George Groves, Carl Froch, it looked like he had respectable punching power. We know Carl Froch has a granite chin, and he had Carl Froch hurt in the first round. Plus, he showed more boxing prowess, more overall fundamentals. He showed patience, and he hopefully learned something in the Carl Froch. When you're ahead, stick to the game plan. I think the George Groves versus Carl Froch, he kind of got ahead of himself, and the immaturity came out, or the just not being seasoned, and he got a little lackadaisical. So hopefully he's learned from that, but I see him as a more overall sound, fundamental boxer. You know he's going to bring it. He's tough. The kid has heart, and Carl Froch doesn't want to rematch him. So to me, this is a great fight from a business perspective and a fan perspective. I think Groves could bring out a different side of Ward. He's young. He has heart, and it could be for an exciting fight. On the undercard, I have Triple G and Chavez Jr. To me, this is a no-brainer. I'm personally a fan of Triple G, but I want to see him fight more up-to-par competition. He's been stepping it up, fighting Matthew Macklin, who's a solid test. Curtis Stevens, that's a pretty solid test as well. However, I want to see how he looks against somebody who's physically bigger. Now, if you look at Triple G and other fights that people have linked him to, a Chavez Jr. fight at this given moment makes sense, to me at least. Miguel Cotto looks like he's most likely facing Sergio Martinez. Sergio Martinez is kind of taking the back door, not fighting a Gennady Golovkin, fighting the smaller fighter, and giving Miguel Cotto a chance, most likely. So that pretty much eliminates a Sergio Martinez and Triple G fight at the moment. Then you have Peter Quillin. Peter Quillin, he showed some vulnerability in the fight with Gabe Rosado, who's becoming more acclimated to the new weight division. So the fight at 160 with Peter Quillin, I think he kind of has some unfinished business with Gabe Rosado, and they may choose, his management would probably choose to put him in there with someone less threatening than a Triple G. And as far as Triple G, he's a very exciting fighter, but truth be told, he's not a household name in the United States. He's a cult favorite, just like Lucas Matisse and Marcos Maidana and other power punchers, Ruslan Provodnikov. But a lot of these guys are great fighters. They're exciting fighters. They're warriors. They have a chin. They have tremendous punching power, but they are not household names. More people might know a fighter like Adrian Broner or someone else, even like a Mikey Garcia, than these fighters. And again, I'm not shitting on anybody's skill level. I'm not saying who's better. I'm just saying in terms of the casual fan, not everyone knows Triple G. I have boxing friends on different levels, and I guarantee you there's a vast majority that don't know who Triple G is, who don't watch boxing like me or you. So I think this is, what better way to get your name out there than to fight someone last name Chavez, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I mean, Chavez Jr., like it or not, whether he trains or doesn't, he comes from that heritage. He comes from a legendary father. He has the namesake. People know him. Even if it's just based on his father, it doesn't matter. People know the name. They know Chavez Jr. There's holidays and streets named after him. So I think this would be a great fight for Triple G to get more exposure. Plus, we get to see Triple G against someone who's bigger. Nobuhiro Ishida is smaller than Triple G. He was fighting at 154, moved up. Gabe Rosado was fighting at 54, moved up. And aside from just the sheer size of some of his opponents, I don't think he's going to become a household name in the United States fighting certain type of fighters. You're going to have to fight somebody with some kind of name or some kind of clout to get to that level where people really recognize you. It'd be like your coming out party. A fight with Asumanu Adama is not necessarily going to catapult him to the next level, in my opinion. Adama already lost to Gale, and he has other losses on his record. So it could be an interesting fight. Triple G has to get through Adama first, but that's not the type of fight that is going to catapult you to the superstar Canelo Floyd Mayweather status where everybody knows your name. But I feel a win, and a significant win over a Chavez Jr. will catapult you to that next level in terms of U.S. superstardom, even though Chavez Jr. is from Mexico. But it's a great fight, and I think more common people know him, so it's something you could really market. Now, let's talk about Chavez Jr. He doesn't seem like the most disciplined dude, but there are intangibles that he has. It looks like he inherited his father's chin. He got his chin from his pops. He's a vicious, tremendous body puncher, which I would like to see. I want to see how Triple G reacts to someone who's relentless and body punches like Chavez Jr. and dedicates that time to the body. Plus, Chavez Jr. is big as fuck. A lot of people don't take that into consideration. A lot of people will probably listen to this video and be like, Sergio Martinez beat his ass easy. He did for 11.5 rounds. However, styles make fights. Sergio Martinez, in his efforts and the way he fights, night and day from how Gennady Golovkin has fought people in recent memory. Sergio Martinez, even before the fight, Chavez Jr. was calling him a ballerina. They knew he was going to move. However, they didn't really execute. Chavez Jr. was smoking weed and chiefing and didn't really have a good game plan to combat the movement, the lateral movement, the in and out movement that caused him to reset that Sergio Martinez was providing. However, name the last Triple G fight where you've seen him move laterally as much as Sergio Martinez moved against Chavez Jr. If you really want to consider it, Chavez Jr. and Sergio Martinez, that was one of Martinez's best performances up until the 12th round in recent memory. He looked stellar. He had a lot of animosity towards Chavez Jr. He was trying to make a statement, and for 11.5 rounds, he did that. But his style and that style that gave Chavez Jr. problems, completely different. He was a moving target, whereas Triple G has showed us in the past, at least in his recent fights, he doesn't really utilize foot speed or lateral movement as much as Sergio Martinez has in the Chavez Jr. fight. Chavez Jr. versus Sergio. Sergio's a smaller guy who was forced out of a division and moved up and started fighting bigger guys. So he had to fight the fight that benefited him and fight the style that worked for him. However, Gennady Golovkin has devastating power, so that's not necessarily going to be the fight that works for Gennady Golovkin. Gennady Golovkin in the past, he's been a stalker, predator type, cut off the ring perfectly. He commits to the body as well. I just see this being a bloodbath. Chavez Jr. versus Gennady Golovkin. And both of these fights, to me, are monumental. And I think this would give a lot of exposure. And whoever won out of both of these fights would get a lot of credit. And it sets up a potential fight with Andre Ward and Triple G, or Andre Ward and Chavez Jr. Andre Ward already called out Chavez Jr. on Fight Hype or somewhere, and a lot of people gave him slack. A win over Triple G, people would be like, okay, I'm ready to see that. Or if Triple G beat Chavez Jr., then naturally there's not really much else he can do at the weight division other than fight like a Sergio Martinez or a Peter Quillen or a Gale, who just recently lost to Darren Barker, who just retired because he got his ass beat by Felix Sturm. So again, these fights make sense to me. I like them, and I think that the fans would really enjoy it and really appreciate the winner, especially for like the Andre Ward and Groves fight. We've seen what Groves is capable of, and if Andre Ward took that flight out to the UK, he would gain fans by beating Groves, because Carl Froch had went through hell to try to beat Groves. Same thing with Groves, and I'm not trying to sell Groves short. Maybe he beats Andre Ward, but based on the pound for pound rankings, I know Andre Ward would be the favorite. So hypothetically, it would be Andre Ward beating Groves, fighting the winner of Triple G versus Chavez Jr. So I like the way it's set up. I think there would be great, intriguing matches. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.